Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
You have entered the PM Entertainment Podcast.
Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of the PM Entertainment Podcast, the show that celebrates, in a cool pair of shades while riding a badass motorbike, the epic filmmaking power of Pepin and Mehi, that tore a swath, whatever a swath is, or maybe it's a swathe, through video stores from the end of the 80s to the new millennium. Films where your enthusiasm to throw yourself repeatedly through glass or fire and onto hard concrete weren't a reason to call the HR department and possibly a sanatorium, but rather the words they wanted to read on your resume, preferably followed by, "will work for cheap." I'm your host, John Cross, and don't forget, if you like this show, please remember to rate and review us on any of the podcasting platforms you use, share our Facebook posts, like, comment, and you can contact us via our email, pmentpod@gmail.com. That's pmentpod@gmail.com. Our guest this week has been in this podcasting racket for almost 5 years with his show Give Me Back My Action and Horror Movies, which just hit its 200th episode, and from the title alone immediately qualified him as guest material for this show. But that's not all, because for the last 11 months he's also been doing a spin-off show called Be Action, where every week they give the likes of Gary Daniels and Michael Dudikoff their due, and while sadly the dude Dudikoff never danced in the halls of PM Entertainment, his name is definitely still part of our love language, along with high kicks, bullets, explosions, motorbikes, luxurious hair, and stunts. Welcome to the PM Entertainment Podcast, Charlie Chase.
Yeah, I'm Charlie with Give Me Back My Action in Horror Movies. I felt like Hollywood and movies and Netflix and all these places didn't understand action movies anymore, and honestly didn't really understand horror movies anymore. I wanted that old feeling I had when I watched these as a kid. I wanted my Arnolds back. I wanted my Dudikoffs back, and they weren't doing that. Once in a while, a gym would pop up. So I wanted to do my buddy convinced me to do a podcast, and I was like, well, I have a Facebook group about action movies. Let's do action. And he's like, yeah, that works. Let's do that. And so we started it just doing action. Then we added my other co-host, Nate, and we added horror to it because horror and action are kind of the same, just a little bit of changing to the script. A lot of people die. There's usually a lot of blood. There's usually boobs everywhere. And, sometimes even action movies have a higher kill count. So it just kind of worked to do some of the, forgotten horror movies. And it's been a blast ever since. And then I decided that there was way more action movies than I could get to. So I started another podcast called Be Action, where we put the B back in action, and we do all the movies that are like that shelf or two down below the Arnolds and the Stallones. Not that we'll never cover one of those, but we want to get, the Dudikoffs do, the Gary Daniels, the Joe Lauras, we want to put them on a pedestal on that show.
Of course.
And we do. And we have a lot of fun with that one.
So were you always into action films from an early age?
I was always about the, like, what we grew up with, action movies, Commando, Predator, all that stuff, what every dad shows their kid. And now that I'm digging like deeper, and I never knew what PM entertainment was. I didn't pay attention to the opening unless it was Canon, Carolco, something like that, just because I would remember that opening, go, oh yeah, this is an Arnold movie. But now I'm looking at these going, holy crap, I love PM entertainment now. Like I've seen a majority of them, but never put it like this was a studio putting them together, when I was young. So it's been awesome, like digging into these and being like, remembering movies. Like, I know you did it, and it was the movie I love. And I know you're going to ask me, but my favorite PM is Steel Frontier, will forever be. But I had memories of that movie as a kid. And when I rewatched it going, this movie looks cool, let's do it on the podcast, I was like, wait a minute, there's a machine gun going to come out of the back of that motorcycle in a second. And it did. I was like, Angel, he's got a tattoo. Yeah, Angel. He's got a tattoo, and he's going to turn it into a smiley face. Why do I remember that? And he does it. And I'm like, so as a kid, I was already watching these and enjoying the heck out of them, but it just never clicked that, that's what these were. And now as an adult, I'm like, oh, I knew I was into some gold back as a kid, man. And I'm able to enjoy it now. So yeah, it's so much fun.
Yeah, no, and it's funny. The three questions I always ask the guest before we get into the movie is, can you remember when you first came across a PM Entertainment film? When did you kind of put together that PM was a company kind of putting out lots of different things? And then obviously your favorite PM film. I think you've answered all of those.
I think I answered all three right there. I can tell you my first R-rated action movie, and that was Delta Force. That is the one my dad started me on when it was like, you're about 14, 13, maybe 14. And he's like, okay, you can watch an R-rated one. And it's always been Delta Force for me. That was where it started.
Nice.
I don't
the Robert Forster on a plane one, right?
Yeah. Robert Forster with a very dark tan.
Yes.
So, but you got Steve James in that and, stuff like that. It's how I got, my dad was in the military. So he did, military movies. And it was that was Chuck Norris. That was all. It was like playing G.I. Joes. Dad was like, my kid's going to like this. And I did. And he didn't realize the attic that he created as I got older. He looks at me so weird when I tell him about the podcast. He's like, you doing that podcast? I was like, yeah, it's your fault. You're the one that got me started watching these movies.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you want to get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, our film on this episode is a big one for PM. It's Zero Tolerance. It's from 1994, which I consider not only the start of their prime PM era, but it is definitely in the running for the best year of PM films ever. If you can think of a better year than 1994 for PM films overall, I'm not saying that all their best films are in 1994, but I'm just saying that 1994 has consistently a fantastic run of great films from PM Entertainment. If you can put another year on the block as potentially the best year of PM Entertainment films, either comment on social media, send us a DM, or email us at pmentpod@gmail.com. That's pmentpod@gmail.com. What do you think is the best year ever for PM Entertainment films? It stars Robert Patrick, fresh off his star-making turn in films like The Cool Surface and Body Shot. It's directed by Joseph Mehy, written by Jacobson Hart, and I think the only film in existence that features the former drummer and founding member of Fleetwood Mac and hockey legend Wayne Gretzky. This movie allows Robert Patrick to join a long line of celebrated cinematic Jeffs, along with Jeffrey the Dude Lebowski, Jeff Spicoli, Jeff Beebe from the band Stillwater, Jeffrey Beaumont, and Jeff Tracy, the marionette puppet from Jerry Anderson's The Thunderbirds. It's also an action film that takes place at Christmas, joining the ranks of Invasion USA, The Long Kiss Goodnight, Batman Returns, Cobra, Lethal Weapon, Die Hard, and of course Iron Man 3. And lastly, Robert Patrick stars with his real-life wife and wife in the film, Barbara Patrick, joining the likes of cinematic couples like Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman in Eyes Wide Shut, John Krasinski and Emily Blunt in A Quiet Place, and probably the most successful of all, Sean Penn and Madonna in Shanghai Surprise. Before we review and chat about the film, it's of course time for the PM Entertainment Bullet Points.
It's the PM Entertainment Bullet Points.
Well, it is quite a list we have for you this week. That's right, we have irrelevant footage of Anaheim Mighty Ducks hockey game, an FBI agent with allergies, confused Mexican extras, Titus Welliver kicking a child, Titus Welliver consuming cocaine like it's cotton candy, motorbike chase, gun shootout on a desert highway, wonderful car out of control acting and flailing, a motorbike's handlebars exploding when shot, gratuitous Mexican police station filled with chickens, man gets hit by a truck, man gets hit by a van, man rolls out of a moving car, man flies through explosion over another car, man hit in crotch by log, man hit in face by log and then face plants a sideboard, man jumps through a glass door instead of opening it to exit a building quicker, man thrown off cliff, man thrown off top of ornate stairs, man shot into a jacuzzi, man thrown out of a window landing on a car in slow motion. A limousine blows up, a news broadcast that conveniently gives the bad guys all the information they need about Jeff and his whereabouts, multiple gratuitous drug dealers in jacuzzi scenes, multiple people shot, and multiple gratuitous shots of Robert Patrick on a motorbike riding along a desert road. A casino shootout, shotgun with endless ammo, car destroyed by Vegas sign, line of cars blown up, car set on fire and driven into a warehouse as a distraction, warehouse shootout, the insinuation that multiple FBI agents live with their parents, dummy drop down cliff, great stair fall including shoulder bumping every stair on the way down, car chase featuring explosion and car flip, Cadillac Jack's drive-in diner that is featured in at least Firepower and To the Limit and probably more PM films, helicopter shootout ending in exploding helicopter caused by Robert Patrick simply driving a car through it without stopping, villains escaping across awkward rope and plank bridge that appears to be the only way in and out of this fancy cabin, and gratuitous Robert Patrick stunt rolls. Wow. Okay, and that feels like just the tip of the iceberg of this movie. Anyway, let's get into it with Charlie Chase. Do you remember when you first saw Zero Tolerance?
So this is one of those that I had this thing when I got a driver's license and I was working. There was a local video store and they would do 5 movies, $5, 5 days. And once I got through like all the heavies, then it was just like, that one looks cool. That one looks cool. That one looks cool. And I got this one because it had the T-1000 with a handgun with a scope on the top of it. And I went, I need to watch that. That looks really cool. And so I rented it as a teenager. I remembered some of this movie, but I'm here to tell you, this is the first time I've watched it since that 5 movie, 5 days, $5.
Okay, cool.
So it has been a while. And for a PM Entertainment movie, this one kind of caught me off guard a little bit. This was not what I was expecting. Not that I didn't like it. It was just like, wow, I don't remember it like this whatsoever.
Yeah.
But
because when I first asked you kind of what you wanted to watch, I think this was the one that you were like, let's do Zero Tolerance.
I was going through, because I went through like PM Entertainment and to just look through all the movies they have done. Like I knew the heavy hitters, and you already did the one I wanted to do, Steel Frontier. But I saw that cover. It's so good. But I saw the cover and I went, I remember that cover. I've seen that. Robert Patrick's family dies. I'll do that one. And so it was also giving me an excuse to go rewatch it. Which, come on, streaming. Where's the PM Entertainment stuff? I had to go on YouTube and watch this.
Yeah, it seems to be YouTube, Tubi. You can sometimes find stuff on like the Roku channel or one of those things. But
Plex or something would have. Yeah, but nothing except YouTube on this one. Like no one had it. But
yeah.
So this was a fun, remembering, going back and watching this going, yeah, okay, I remember that part. Oh, I don't remember this part. Oh, wow, I don't remember that at all. And now that I've watched a few PM movies since then, I'm kind of like, wow, this is a little different for PM. This one actually has some story to it, some drama to it. It's not a 30-minute long action sequence at the beginning of the movie, but there's definitely some stunts. There's definitely some insane stunts in this one.
Yeah, so I don't know whether I would call it PM Entertainment's Taken, but it's pretty close in terms of like revenge movies, in the sense that he goes from place to place, avenging himself all over people in a variety of violent and brilliant ways, interspersed obviously with some emotional drama around the fact that he loses his family. Obviously, they're not taken in this movie so much as like really brutally beaten up and then shot in the head. It's not pleasant. It reminds me a little bit of the opening of The Sweeper, which is a C. Thomas Howell PM Entertainment film that also features like a family's death. It is, I don't know that it's like too unique for PM, but I mean, it's unique in the sense that it has Robert Patrick. It's unique in the sense that it has a lot of travel in it that most of their movies don't. Most of their movies are in like one or two locations to keep the budget down. I think because they wanted Robert Patrick, that I think they upped the budget for this one more than they would normally, is my feeling on this one. Ken Blakey kind of confirmed that as well. So that was a big deal for this. And then, it's 94 is about when they start really perfecting their formula. So they really, you feel like at this point, their shootouts and their stunts and their explosions, they're in their groove now. They're beginning to get in their groove. 94, 95, 96, any of the movies made in that time of PM, that's where you're getting your really sweet spot stunt work and action work. And the basic plot of this, the elevator pitch, such as it is there's an FBI agent who is sent down to Mexico to get a drug kingpin back. He's been arrested and is in a Mexican jail. And this drug kingpin is part of a conglomerate of drug kingpins called the White Hand. And they are trying to get an illegal drug that's like liquid heroin that they call Wet Love, which I think... How many names did they kick around the PM offices before they came up with Wet Love?
Two right? Names is all they kicked around to land on that.
But and they're trying to. This group have had a setback by the fact that Titus Welliver, this bad guy Manta, was in prison in Mexico. They call him up and they're like, "Look, we need our product yesterday. What the hell are you going to do about it?" He knows that Robert Patrick is still kicking about Mexico, so he has his goons attack his family in Los Angeles, and he goes after Robert Patrick in his hotel room, convinces him to cross the border with drugs, telling him that his family's still alive when they're not. And once he finds out they're no longer alive in Vegas, and also finds out that they try to kill him by blowing up his limousine, he is then hell-bent on revenge and will stop at nothing until he takes down 5 leaders of the White Hand. So it becomes an all-out war on this drug cartel, and it really doesn't slow down. Like once his family gets attacked, the opening keeps sort of threatening to like get big, but I feel like I feel like the opening is just really like a bit of a bike chase, bit of a car chase, bit of a shootout. And then once his family is attacked and he goes on the war path, all bets are off, and we've got explosions and all sorts of stuff.
It's right about the halfway point is what I was noting on the movie. Like there's some action, but this is what caught me off guard. This wasn't what I was used to on the PM formula, which is a little bit of talking, a lot of action, a little bit of talking, a lot of action. And they kept you like barely enough time to catch your breath from all the action. Right. This one was talking, good action segment. Now we got to set everything up, and now we got to give you a reason for why he's about to go apeshit on all these drug cartels. and we're almost there, guys. Just hang on. And then, he's about there. Now he goes like pedal to the metal and goes, Liam Neeson, or I was even kind of seeing a little bit of faster with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in some of the scenes where he is just methodical, doesn't give a shit about anything, goes in, kills, done, leave, go after the next one. So definitely some influences later.
Oh, definitely. And he seems to have he has a different plan for each guy. So the action doesn't really get boring. Like for the one guy, he drives a car into a warehouse while the car's on fire, and then just to kind of like scatter everyone, and then he just starts shooting. There's one that's sort of similar to Professional, with him kind of going up through a high rise to get to like the bad guy in his office at the top, sort of thing. There's some neat set pieces, and I can't say, and I like you watched it this afternoon, and it is fantastic, and I would put it in the top 20 of PM key titles. If you're going to get into PM, like watch Zero Tolerance, it's definitely one of them.
Easy.
But unlike Rage, which we were sort of talking about a little bit about earlier, and unlike Steel Frontier, obviously, I mean, Steel Frontier has the benefit of being just looking so different and just being in a different location. So it's
on its own level, even in PM entertainment.
Yes, it is. It is. They all admitted to me that they all took just a little extra time there. Like they all took, we'll take a couple of extra days on the shooting schedule. We'll spend an extra hour setting up the lights and the camera for that one. It just looks, when that comes out on Blu-ray, that is going to be, I mean, it looks beautiful on the shitty DVD I have. So on Blu-ray, it's just going to look phenomenal. Some of those wide shots and long shots and the depth of focus. Oh, it's so beautiful. Anyway, Zero Tolerance has some of that. Zero Tolerance, I think of the scene of Patrick, like when he's heading into Vegas on his bike, and they have that like nice long desert shot of him on his bike. It has some of that. But I was going to finish up just saying that I have to say, there isn't really like a memorable set piece. There isn't a set piece in the movie that makes you go, oh, that's kind of like the cornerstone of the film. There's a lot of action, and I'm not putting it down at all, but there's not that set piece. Do you know what I mean?
No. Oh, again, that's what I was kind of waiting for watching this, and where my memory as a 16, 17-year-old, it's not as sharp as I am now, because I was like, I thought there was more to this as far as action goes. Now, don't get me wrong, every bullet explodes. They have unlimited ammo.
Yes.
Robert Patrick, stunt guy, flies through the air more than Superman does. It's constant. And Robert Patrick learned how to stunt roll, and he did it any chance he got in this movie. If nothing else, the fact they used Robert Patrick, who is a great actor, like there's just something about him that sets him apart from your normal B action, leads. And we had just done Equalizer 2000, and it was his first movie. And as he's like the second baddie, and we're all watching this going, we want him to be the main bad. Like Robert Patrick's actually really cool in this, and it's his first movie. So you're like, someone watched this and went, he's going to be awesome, even before T-1000. And so was seeing in this, I did like the cinematography, though, not just the set pieces, but somebody played around with some filters and some lighting. There are some like dark blues at night. And then there's like a sunset shot where he's almost like glowing red, not in a bad way, but it's like somebody was actually putting some thought behind, the cinematography of it. And
that's our boy Ken Blakey.
Yeah. I mean, it was enough for me to go, wow, in a PM movie. Wow. This is actually really good.
No. And PM Entertainment, as I said, once they hit their stride, and I think it does start weirdly enough with there's stuff like Street Crimes and things like that earlier on that has some of that like nighttime shooting, CDLA stuff. But really, it's sort of the Wings Hauser movies like Art of Dying and Living to Die, where you get those beautiful, like colored neon colors and hues and stuff set against the night shooting, because they do a lot of night shooting, and they do a lot of night shooting because explosions look great, gunshots look great, the neon streets, the in this case in Zero Tolerance, you've got the streets of downtown Las Vegas, all the big lit up marquees, all that stuff. Everything looks better against a silky black night than it does necessarily a bright blue day. Although there are some beautiful desert shots in this. The Mexican opening is fantastic with the bike chases and the car chase there at the beginning and the shootout and all that. And I definitely liked seeing Patrick kind of doing a lot of that himself. That was some fun stuff. Him like driving the car, his partner's been shot in the driver's seat, and he has to keep remembering to like keep the car steady while he's also shooting out the back windscreen and stuff, and shooting out the side door. And then at one point the door just blows off, which is fantastic.
I saw that too. I was hoping you were going to see that, because I was like, "What? Did that machine gun just cut the door off of a Ford sedan?
Just cut it clean off.
It just disappears so that the stunt guy could just jump out of the car." But I was just, I got tickled by that. And then, of course, there is an like automatic shotgun that the FBI carries in the trunk of the car. But Robert Patrick carries a revolver in this movie that has infinite ammo. I don't care. Yes. He never reloads it. Then he has a double barrel shotgun later in the movie that has 4 rounds in it, not 2. Yeah. He shoots that sign that drops down onto the car.
He also carries 2 guns a lot. There's a lot of like 2-gun shootouts in the movie. At one point, he leaves them on top of a barrel in the warehouse that he's just blown up. And yet in a later scene, he's got them again. So he just has, I don't know whether he just has a ton of guns at home or whether he just buys new guns. At one point, he has a gun holster on his leg when they need him to find a 3rd gun, and he's run out of all the other guns. He has one on his leg. That's lucky. You know,
he was. I kept attributing it, like this kind of has like a Punisher vibe to it too, like Thomas Jane's and stuff like that. But this was all obviously before, so this would be like comic.
I think the most underrated Punisher of the 3 as well. The Thomas
I agree.
Jane one.
I agree. I like all of them. From Dolph to Ray Stevens, I like all of them. But I also they drop the tiniest little bit of dialogue in this movie to kind of explain it. Is he's being given all this by command? That she talks about like, how is he getting on all these planes? How does he have all this? They don't say the weapons, but I just kind of put the pieces together in my brain, going, well, they're giving him weapons too. Like there's probably weapon stashes that they're like, go here, get loaded up here.
It's interesting. PM do like to throw in just a little bit of, the hierarchy of whether it's the FBI, whether it's the mayor, whether it's the city, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they do this throughout their movies. But in this particular case, his family gets killed, so everyone's really worried about him, and they think he's just going to go crazy. And he does. He goes and starts killing people and is suspended. And then halfway through the movie, what would have been his partner, a female FBI agent, played by, is it Kristen Meadows? Is it Megan?
She doesn't have a picture on IMDb, but I think that's Kristen Meadows.
Barbara is not only his wife, but is actually his wife. Is actually like Robert Patrick's wife. Like Wendy's IMDb is all just pictures of her and Robert Patrick.
Well, I guess Barbara Patrick, I guess that makes sense. So yeah, I'm going to say Megan, Kristen Meadows is the partner.
Yes. And they've been married since 1990.
Good on them. That just tells me Robert Patrick's a good dude.
Yep, tells me he's a good dude. And what also tells me a good dude, you brought up Equalizer 2000. He posted him hanging out with Richard Norton recently. And for you to stay in touch with someone from your first movie, there aren't many people in Hollywood who are like that.
No.
So that tells me he's a stand-up guy.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and I have to say just a quick word then on Barbara Patrick, who plays his wife in real life and his wife in the movie, is that I actually thought, until I looked it up, I actually thought that she was a stunt woman, because in the scenes that she's in, especially taking the beatings and whatever, she does like really, really well with that, considering considering that's normally for a role small like that in a movie, PM would put a stunt woman because she needs to get beaten up and thrown through doors anyway. So just make her a stunt
So it doesn't matter who it is, but it does looks like her doing it. You know, it never looked like, oh, that's a stunt woman getting thrown.
Right.
I mean, for them to not show the actual killing, it still felt brutal watching them beat on her on the phone call. Oh, it was wild. Also, had no idea Zero Tolerance is a Christmas movie. Who knew? So, you know, Christmas is going on this entire time. It's on the list now.
It's on the list. It's up there with Cobra and the Lethal Weapons and Die Hard.
I Come in Peace and
I Come in Peace. Right. Yeah.
Which that kept coming to mind because I went, oh, liquid drugs. Everyone thought that was going to be a huge thing in the 90s. And I also remembered I Come in Peace because they kept sucking everybody's brain stuff out to make alien heroin, basically, is what they were making in that movie.
Yeah, aren't they sucking their adrenal gland or something out in that movie, which always makes me think of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I'm like, what is it about the adrenal gland that everyone is so wired up about?
It's because we don't know enough about it, John. We don't know enough. Yes. So it must be awesome. Our body makes drugs and won't give it to us. That's what drives us mad. Our body will make this really cool drug, but it says, no, you can't have it right now. Only if you're about to die. That's the only time you're going to get it.
Right. Or when you're watching any large-scale action film. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I never forget the first time I saw Statham come out of the nose of the plane, that whole bit in Expendables 1, where Stallone runs, catches the plane with his hands, which is the silliest thing you've ever seen, but it's fantastic because all his fingers would be torn off. It would be great. Anyway, catches the plane, gets in the plane, they dump the oil, they fly off, they come round, Statham's little bald head comes out the nose of the plane, and then he's just got a fucking machine guns coming out the side of the plane and they just shoot up the deck. I'm like, whoever thought that? Like, well, Stallone's just a fucking genius when it comes to that stuff. And I tell you what, I was in a crowded cinema, and when that fucking happened, I didn't care. I went, wow! Like, I just fucking threw my fist up and whooped and hollered. It was, that's a fantastic
I will hype a theater up if they're not giving the movie the love it deserves. That is what I'm known for. But it's just gold right there.
It is. And there's similar sequences, not so much again in Zero Tolerance, but in a lot of PM films. As I said, the rage sequence and Steel Frontier, the car chase, and there's so many great ones. Back to Kristen Meadows then is the female FBI agent who was about to be partnered with Robert Patrick before he gets suspended. She's the only one who seems to give a shit about him. Although there's the other cop who comes by later on and sort of says, hey, you realize that if he's getting on the plane, he must be using his undercover identity, which means that someone somewhere in the FBI wants this to be happening. Yeah. And sure enough, basically all the dudes in the office are cheering him on, and the one woman is just
I swear I was waiting for them to high-five each other. They were all like, yeah, bro, he's doing the work for us. Because the captain is like the millions we've spent to try and indict these guys. And Jeff just put a bullet in his head.
Yeah.
Awesome. Keep going. Yeah. You know, that's all.
How much does bullets cost? How much do bullets cost? We'll just give him infinite bullets.
That's all it's going to cost us, and just no more headaches? Done.
Right.
Done.
She kind of follows him, and then, of course, she gets kidnapped as well, so then he has to, like, save her as well. But you're right. He does a lot of stunt roles. He does an impressive roll over the top of a car and then, like, rolls down onto the hood and jumps off the hood. And then in the compound attack at the very end of the movie when he's going after Titus Welliver, a guy comes out like a shed door with a gun, and he just does in midair, like a stunt roll in midair, and then comes crashing down and shoots him. It's fantastic.
And faces the opposite direction. I still don't understand how, but I knew what I was in for during the Las Vegas scene where they're about to blow up the limousine, and for whatever reason, the Force told him to get out of the car because he's getting out of that thing way fast. It's not like he saw a bomb and the timer was going down. He just
realized everyone stepped away from the car, I think.
Everybody got away from it, but I love the shot that you see it blow up and that stunt guy flies 2 cars over and doesn't end there. It cuts to him rolling. Robert Patrick gets up, take off running into the street, and a van comes running and hits the stunt guy again, and Robert Patrick gets back up and runs again. I was just like, this is the greatest stunt, like, coordinating hit, roll, good guy keeps on running. I was like, I love this. I love every bit of this.
Well, I like what was the red car that's coming after him, and he's trying to shoot at the red car.
Oh yeah, on the motorcycle case. Yes.
Yeah, looks up, sees the sign that's hanging, and has to shoot the sign twice. You'd normally in a PM film, he would just be like, shoot, bang, the sign explodes, drops down on the car, done. No, this one, they show the metal wire that's holding the sign has to be shot at least twice to bring it down. You know what I mean?
That's the infinite ammo double barrel shotgun, because he shoots at the car twice and then sees the sign and shoots it twice. And all because he's pinned under the motorcycle he was riding. And I was like, I didn't think that when it landed, I didn't see you still under the motorcycle when it landed. But okay, I'll believe you for a minute. You're stuck under the motorcycle. And then the sign falls, but there's 2 cars parked at a V so that when the red car hits it, it jumps and flies through the air. And I went, well, the 2 cars would have stopped it anyway. I don't care. No, this is awesome.
Not in PM Entertainment. When 2 cars hit each other. Yes, when 2 cars hit each other in PM Entertainment, or if 2 cars jackknife on a highway and another car comes like driving towards it, it hits the car at such an angle that apparently it flies up and ramps over those cars. It's the law of PM Entertainment. So it's what happens.
It's always the bus from Speed, no matter what. Yeah. That car is going to fly. You're going to get a great shot of the undercarriage, and it might roll. We don't know because we're PM Entertainment, and we're just hoping it does something and we get it on film. That's pretty much.
And I think I think the cars flying and the cars flipping definitely, to me, because I think growing up, the one thing we all crowded around the TV for in the Saturday evenings, because I know they were week time shows here, but in the UK there were Saturday evenings, and that was stuff like the A-Team, and then after that Knight Rider, and then actually before that it was Dukes of Hazzard, then the A-Team, then Knight Rider, Incredible Hulk was in there somewhere, those kind of shows, and the A-Team solidified my love of flipping cars. And there must have been so many like junkyards in the Los Angeles area that Craig R. Baxley, who did a ton of the stunts for the A-Team, must have just rocked up every week and gone, we need 2-3 more shitty old box cars to flip.
It's one of my favorite things my dad does is we'll be watching old A-Team and he goes, that's not a short one. Nope, that's a long one. That's a Chevy, not a GMC. Because they it looks like it. Like they'd have the Hero that always looks good, the Hero van. It's like the Dukes of Hazzard. They went through a ton in the first 4 seasons till they were now we got to start using models. And that's kind of when it started going downhill that you could tell.
I think there's one point where they jump the A-Team van and you see, as it lands, the entire front axle, bumper, everything just fucking implodes. Gone. And then it cuts to another scene and it's driving off down the road. I'm like, I know I didn't miss that,
No, BA can drive anything and it's totally fine. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah, it's all good. No, I was just watching the Wings Hauser episodes last night, and I'm a big fan of the A-Team. I put them on all the time. But the A-Team were kind of the first visceral memory I had of these kind of stunts. So when I watch PM, to me, the A-Team started what PM kind of took with and ran, because you go from maybe flipping 1 or 2 cars every episode to a PM film where in the first 5 minutes they're ramping a city bus through a wall of fire, and you're like, this is fucking amazing.
Yeah. Or they're driving down a pier and knocking everything off of the pier, and people are jumping off of, trampolines into the water, and barrels jump straight up in the air when you hit it. It's gold. And I don't care. Like, some people I'm sure are like, oh, this is so stupid. This is so childish. Not me, man. Because I'm just like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. This is exactly what I'm here for. And because I love every second of it.
It's skill. It's what you're with. There's two things. It hits you on two levels. You get entertained by it. The fucking lizard brain just goes, oh, this is exciting and awesome. And, you get boyish and childish again. And then the other thing is the skill. Once you know how the cookie is made, and once you've interviewed people, I've interviewed people. I've been lucky enough to, speaking to all sorts of people, stuntmen, directors, whatever. And at the same time, DVD commentaries and Laserdisc extra features and all that kind of stuff brought a lot of this and a lot of these names we didn't know beforehand into our living rooms. And so when I watch something like the opening of The Sweeper, where, like you say, they drive down a pier that is abnormally long, by the way.
Oh, it's like 30 miles long, easily.
It's 30 miles long. When you see that and you notice that there's something like 22 body hits just in that sequence alone. You see the skill. The second time you watch it and you're no longer kind of necessarily wrapped up in the entertainment of it, you really see the skill of these stunt people that's involved. So Patrick does a lot of his own stuff in Zero Tolerance, which is great. He also is a really good stuntman. I have to say, we were just joking about the A-Team and the way that the axle's destroyed and then the next minute the van seems fine. The cuts between what's obviously a stuntman and Patrick getting up are done really well in this movie. That you do not see the joy in it at all, really.
You got to be a connoisseur of these movies like you and I to like kind of catch them. This one's done pretty smoothly. We just have an eye for being able to go, yep, that was definitely a stunt guy that did that,
right?
Especially if it's all you see is the back of the head for a minute. But I have to say, though, even though he was doing most of his stunts, Robert Patrick's hair gets better as this movie goes on. Like towards the end of the movie, I'm like, dude, did you go get your hair styled before this final scene? Like, when did you do this? Because your hair looks amazing right now.
Yes.
Not like it did earlier. It just caught me off guard. And that's another reason I was liking Robert Patrick in this so much. And
I think the blonde highlights catch you off guard when you first see it. You don't think FBI agent and blonde highlights. But later, once he's out of the suit and he's in the bomber jacket and the blue jeans, it kind of then all goes with the rebellious cowboy look or whatever he's going for.
Yeah, the vigilante, modern day type thing. I dig it. And even in other movies, like when they do the serious stuff, because he does have a lot of flashbacks to the family. He's in the house, he's watching old tapes, looking at pictures. With Robert Patrick, I was with him. He's a good actor, and I could see the emotion that he's putting in there. In a lot of these action movies, that doesn't work. They can't cry on command. They can't emote an emotion other than a mad face, pissed off,
Right.
But Robert Patrick was able to actually do it. Now, is he going to win an Oscar for this movie? No. But at least in this movie, I'm like, I feel you, man. That I believe it. Like when he has the outburst in the hotel room, when she's questioning him all this stuff. Like I like that. I bought it. He was actually breaking down. And
when he says I lost my wife, I lost my kids, I lost my job. Like, what do you expect from me, kind of thing?
And everyone else is like, buck up, dust it off, you'll be okay. Like the captain, he's like, I go fishing on the East Coast, motherfucker. What? Like you don't just bounce back from this. No,
I'm not flying out to Montauk to dip my rod in the water. Not happening. Yeah.
No, I do like that. They never did the other thing. Like Cannon definitely would have had her and Robert Patrick hook up in that hotel room, and that didn't work for the story in this. And I'm glad that it doesn't even start to feel that way either. So I'm like, I like it. This one works for me. No nudity in this one. A lot of strip clubs, but no nudity in this one. So I was like, okay, Does that
Yes,
cost
there's
extra?
the one scene he goes to New Orleans, and to establish that it's New Orleans, because it's clearly not New Orleans, but to establish it's New Orleans, you see sort of scantily clad stripper in a window.
Yeah, it's like the red
you know,
light district or something.
Yeah,
that he's
kind of like a
into.
burlesque thing.
Yeah.
And it is unique. It is unique to New Orleans because it's one of the few places that, and actually when I was in New Orleans the first time, there was a burlesque dancer at the bar we were in, that you can have a burlesque dancer in a window without any curtains or shade or whatever. Like it's perfectly
It's just right there. Yeah.
fine. It's just right there. Whereas most strip clubs in New York and other places and Vegas and stuff that I've lived in, they tend to all be, warehousey style buildings that are closed up and
Windows
blinds over
blacked
the
out,
windows and the
doors around the corner, stuff like that. But I just,
New
I
Orleans
gotta
is more
gotta
like,
laugh at all that.
yeah. So you see that he goes in, like shoots a bunch of people, kills a bunch of people, walks out, and as he walks out, he turns his head over and they have one more clip of her ass,
girl
and then he
dancing.
just kind of makes a little look and walks away. It was great.
Lights that cigarette and just keeps walking. I was like, this works for me. It's just the right amount of sleaze. In a movie that's kind of drama driven, just that right amount that he's in the seedy underbelly of the world right now. He's not FBI agent Jeff. He's just Jeff.
He's crazy Jeffy.
He's crazy Jeffy. Oh, but no, I like
Titus Weller for going, I wish crazy Jeffy was on our side. That's a great line. As is the kind of sad but also humorous line where the little girl on the airplane looks up and says, "What did you get for Christmas?" And he just goes, "Nothing."
Nothing.
It's so bleak because what's happened to him, but it's also kind of funny.
And it's such a wild scene to just randomly be on a plane next to a little girl that their grandma put me on the plane. I'm going to my mom and dad. I do this all the time. And, you're just like, who wrote this? Like, I'm not mad, but I was just like, this is what we're going with here. This is, he lost his kids. Now he's sitting next to this little girl talking about Christmas, and then he falls asleep and sweating, and she hands him the throw up bag. I did get a chuckle out of that one. She goes, "Please don't throw up on yourself like my dad did." So
her dad, the worst flyer in America.
Oh, worst flyer. Can you tell the pilot to not be so bumpy? Oh, yeah. God. It was.
But no, I thought it was nice. Like when you talk about those flashbacks or the dreams that he has, I actually thought like it was a really nice touch, because normally when they do that in a movie, I kind of go, look, we get it. Like he had a lovely family. Can we just get back to the killing and the murder? I have to say in these ones, it really did. It added something. It added a little respite from the madness, but it also added some important kind of like backstory. I love the fact that they sort of included that the last conversation he had with his wife was sort of an argument, not a terrible argument, but sort of
terrible, right?
But sort of like a regretful thing, something that would, sit in the back of his mind for the rest of his life, kind of thing that that would hurt his memories. Similarly, the little girl, his daughter, is kind of saying like, "Can we stay home from school today?" And there's part of him that wishes, maybe he had just stayed home with the kid and fluffed off school and whatever. There was some nice little touches there that didn't need to be in there, but were. And I think that's Joe Hart's writing. I think he always whips stuff in there that you wouldn't necessarily expect. I feel like he does.
Yeah, in some movies, things like this, they would have killed the family out of nowhere, and you'd be like, okay, the family's dead because we didn't spend enough time with them. Like I wasn't able to care about them. That kind of happens, but we get just enough where I'm like, and it's so brutal. You're like, oh shit. But the flashbacks build my relationship with his family and let me see him. It's way better than Arnold in End of Days when we had to like have all the flashbacks of his family, where I'm like, yeah, they were already dead before the movie started. Like, I don't, like I get it.
Although I give mad props to End of Days. I like End of Days.
It's a great movie. It's a great movie,
but I know what
you're
saying.
It's one of those that they're already dead and we have to relive everything through the flashback of, from Satan. This
Yes.
one is we actually care about the dynamic of the family through the flashbacks. So we're on Jeff's side regardless of this movie. You know, we're like, yes, kill all 5 of them. Yes, get your revenge. You know, yeah, you're not going to be able to, you know, sleep at night if you don't do what you're about to do. And who cares who gets in the way?
It sort of reminded me a little bit of like a Larry Cohen film. What Larry Cohen always does is and Cue the Winged Serpent is full of these characters, but every character in the movie has a little thing, has a little character, has a little backstory, has a little note, has a little whatever. And I thought it was really nice that while it's not labored, the idea that Kristen Meadows, Megan, his would-be partner, the fact that, you know, she lost her mom and that she now lives with her father, and her father is clearly still going through a lot because he's always sort of nagging her a little bit and kind of taking out some of his frustrations. There was some nice little character bits there that I'm like, that doesn't need to be in there, but that it is in there just kind of fleshes this movie out a little bit.
Well, especially when she's kind of talking to Jeff and she's commiserating with him a little bit. And then we find out what happened to her mom. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like,
yeah.
That just got dropped in my lap out of nowhere. And it's just like, you know, where she's talking like, oh, I've thought about sneaking in that guy's room and cutting his, like she drops where he works, where he lives, everything. Like, she's like, I've been following him and I can do what you're doing here. And I can sneak in his room and cut his throat, but I don't, because I have ethics and I have, you know, honor and all this other stuff. And that's when we get that thing where he goes, they took it all from me. Like, I don't even have my honor anymore, basically, at that moment. But just her dropping that out of nowhere, I'm like, again, that's just that little bit extra of the writing that sets itself above other, like, just generic B action movies.
Yeah, definitely. The writer, Joe, was telling me the ending was different. Titus Welliver was meant to survive, and he was meant to bring him to justice, and he was meant to close that out so that some of what she said in the hotel room kind of rung true, in the sense that he stopped with the full-blown death revenge thing. He goes, all right, I can't keep doing this. I've sacrificed something of myself, etc., etc. He brings him back to justice, but he also can't be part of the FBI anymore because they're the ones that have kind of spurred him on to do this, and even have just been like almost forcing him to do it. You know what I mean? In a weird way. So
they said that he was supposed to be like the fall guy, like essentially the plan would be he would do all this, and then he himself would get sent to prison for it.
Right.
And everything cleans itself. But yeah, I got to say the ending was probably one of the most like unusual endings for me, even though I was kind of expecting it. But before I talk about the end though, I do got to talk about when PM going to PM, that they do it in such a way that I almost want to shout, is you get the biggest guy of your stunt crew as your henchman carrying the biggest gun, and every bullet he fires explodes on the ground like Robert Patrick is in the middle of a war movie. Because when that guy is carrying a 50 cal rifle and basically shooting explosive rounds, which I don't think that's what it was actually supposed to be, but that's just how they depicted it. And Robert Patrick is running across this parking lot / pier with explosions every time the guy pulls a trigger. I was just like, yes, more of this.
Well, there was 2 great scenes like that. There was that scene, and then earlier, Robert Patrick's plan when the henchmen come running out of the casino is he shoots twice. He'll shoot the car, because of course in a PM Entertainment movie, if you shoot a car, it instantly explodes.
Yep.
So there's a row of cars outside this casino. The henchmen come running out. He shoots the car, explosion disorientates them. Then he shoots the henchman. Then the henchman that's in front of the next car, he shoots the next car blows up, shoots the henchman. And that was another kind of very PM got a PM kind of moment, which was they were like, well, we've got 8 cars, we've got 8 henchmen, run out, shoot one, blow up, shoot next one, shoot one, blow up, shoot the next one, and it was sort of this. It's almost like Robert Patrick was like, if I could just get them out into the street, because I know I could make cars explode.
Right. I know that my bullet will make that car, even if I don't hit the gas tank, it's gonna explode.
I think at one point he hits like the window or the passenger door.
Yes. So cars are really, really explosive. Did you not know that, John? I mean,
yes,
they're all
really
very explosive. It's an acorn could fall and my car would explode. I have to be very careful.
But again, I don't mind that, because sort of once I get into like a PM Entertainment movie, I'm like, the world I'm in has these rules, and as long as it adheres to these rules, you know what I mean, I'm fine with it. Yeah. Like, as long as people aren't superheroes, which is sort of my a little bit of my complaint against action movies made recently is everyone now is a superhero. You know what I mean?
Pretty much, yeah.
And it ceases to be. I rewatched The Beekeeper, and as much as like it's a fun Statham movie, I'm like, he doesn't even get a scratch in that movie. Like, no one even takes him on in that movie. Like, the South African guy at the end, I guess.
The end fight, he does get hurt, but it takes a while to hurt him.
2 minutes, whereas I prefer I understand that even John McClane would probably have died in the first three stunts that he does in the movie Die Hard, but it's at least more believable that he's a little beat up, roughed up, emotionally, his feet are bleeding. Like, at least it makes, I don't know, it gives you someone to root for, whereas when they're just superheroes, it's less interesting.
Right. And that's something a little bit that I think Zero Tolerance has going for it is Robert Patrick isn't a giant dude. He's not incredibly buff.
No.
He's not got abs for days. He's kind of a regular guy. And so he's also not special forces trained. He does a couple of pretty cool kicks in this movie. And I was like, okay, caught me off guard. I'm in. But he doesn't rely on it the whole time. Like, whenever he's fighting Manta later, it's straight up fisticuffs. They're just, beating the crap out of each other. And I was like, this feels realer, like a little raw. Like, it's not as choreographed a fight, like Daniel Bernhardt would have, or, Jason Statham would have. This felt very guttural, very like they live. You're just going to beat the piss out of each other for 10 straight minutes, but they just ain't got that kind of time. But yeah, I like that about this one. I never believed.
Like Welliver's a pretty heavy hitter when it comes to the acting. I mean, yes, he's doing a bit of a cartoony villain, and he's definitely like, yeah, I'm wearing the shiny suits, and I'm doing I'm Titus Welliver being a bad guy with the shiny suits, so what the fuck? It ain't my problem. He's definitely doing kind of some of that kind of goofy cartooniness. But because it's consistent, and because that's the character you kind of expect him to play, it does work. And it means that when you get kind of the face-off between the two of them, you're already like, well, this is two actors who, yes, are going to have a fight, and yes, it's a PM film, and yes, it's whatever. But they're actors first. This is not Don the Dragon Wilson versus Gary Daniels, or Jeff Wincott, versus Gary Daniels, or or Gary Daniels versus the Ultimate Warrior, or whatever. This is
Gary Daniels versus Gary Daniels. Yeah, that's
I tell you what, if you haven't seen it on your B action movie journey, check out Cold Harvest, because that is a under the radar, phenomenal Gary Daniels movie. Some of the best martial arts, very Hong Kong inspired set pieces. And the female lead in it is Barbara Crampton. So it even has the horror star in it. And I remain the only interviewer that, when speaking to Barbara Crampton, brought up Cold Harvest. She was like, wow. No one has ever brought that movie up to me before. So
it is wrote down and shall make it onto the list. So
watch it, dude. There's some great. Have you seen Blood Moon with him and Darren Shalavi?
I think I've seen Blood Moon.
So Blood Moon, again, top tier Gary Daniels, phenomenal set pieces. Cold Harvest, very similar, but it has some of that Steel Frontier, like steampunk, post-apocalyptic kind of sci-fi aspect to it as well. So everyone looks like they just came off the set of Firefly or something. They're all wearing like long brown duster coats and, things like that. So it's a good time. It's a good time.
We just recently did Christopher Lambert's Beowulf. So we're well versed in some sci-fi punk, medieval blending.
Yeah.
We had a ball with that movie. I tell you.
Oh yeah, that one's fantastic. The one I love with him in it, Lambert in it, is another like under the radar one is The Hunted, the ninja movie that he does. Fucking phenomenal
great movie.
Really,
not
good
enough
movie.
people talk about that movie. It's so good.
Such a great movie. I used to do in the After Movie Diner. I used to do Ninja-vember, and we used to do double bills of ninja movies every weekend in November, and we did The Hunted as one of our double bills. Oh, phenomenal. I loved it. I thought The Hunted was great. But yeah, so the exploding cars are great. The exploding shotguns are great. The fight, like you say, with Titus Welliver and Robert Patrick, a lot more realistic. And but in general, sort of the set pieces are slightly more subdued in this than they are in other movies. And this is not one, I'm going to have to quickly look it up, but this is not one that I think has, they mainly work with two stunt guys, Spiro Rosatos and Cole S. McKay. And then Broadway Joe Murphy and a couple of others sort of crop up. But I don't believe that this has any, I was looking earlier, I don't believe this has any of like the key stunt guys they normally work with. I feel like this was a kind of a secondary group kind of thing. Okay, so Broadway Joe Murphy, so Broadway Joe Murphy is the stunt coordinator on this. So that's, he's fantastic. I'm no knocking on Broadway Joe. It's also got like Wild Bill Mock, who I've seen his name knocking around on these things before, and a couple of others, but it's not necessarily the usual stunt crew for this movie either. And that may have been the nature of the script. They may have been like, look, it's Robert Patrick. Let's give him something more to work with. Let's not just make it, wall to wall explosions. Let's try and let people see him emote, but let's also have him like riding on a motorbike, just looking fucking badass.
Oh, 100%. That was like the cherry on top of this is the motorcycle sequence. Arnold got to ride a motorcycle. I want to ride a motorcycle. Can I ride a motorcycle in this movie? That's what I want to do. And it works.
Yes.
It works. I like it. It comes off really well. I like everything that happens in here until the end of the movie. I was even okay with him. Hell, I was half expecting her to shoot Manta in the head so that it wouldn't be Jeff. Because she's there again. She just shows up out of nowhere too. Like he's, assaulting that compound and I'm watching this going, where the fuck does this white car come from? What is going on? And he jumps in it like it was planned. And I was like, did I miss? I was about to rewind it till he goes, where the hell did you come from? And I was like, oh, okay. You're just as lost as me. Yeah. Where the hell did you come from? And she like, I'm just here to help you and save you and all this other stuff. And I was like, I had no idea that's what she was going to do. Like,
I think I just watched this afternoon, so I don't know whether it's my old man brain or whether it just didn't stick with me. My thought was at one point, Titus Welliver is in a jacuzzi, and his henchmen come in with the female agent, and he said, "So you're telling me that Jeffy got away again, but you brought me this woman? Why?"
Right.
And my feeling is that was like where they kidnapped her. And then I think during the raid on the compound, the implication is that she has escaped, got the car, and swung round to pick him up. I think.
It could be a mismatch because I thought it was way before she got kidnapped. And that's how right before the hotel scene that she just appears.
Oh, you mean when she just shows up the first time?
Yeah, when she just shows up the first time out of nowhere in that white little compact car, busts through the gate.
Okay, that is because I think you see her and her colleague say like, find me the next place he.
Yeah, I think the last thing she says is, I'll be at LAX. Like that's I think that's the last thing she says, and the last time we see her.
Yeah.
Until she's busting through the gates, and it just the way he like sees the car, busts through the gates, knock down the henchman, rolls again because he likes to roll in this movie, jumps in the passenger seat. She takes off, and that's where I'm like, was this planned? And then he looks at her and goes, "Where the hell did you come from?" And I was just okay. It's not just me. No, later when she's kidnapped, she's already there during that assault, and that's
okay. Yeah, I'm getting confused then by the scene. Yeah, okay, I know what you're.
Because whenever he beats up Manta, and he's like, it's time to do the kill shot, and she walks into the frame of the shot.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where he pauses. It's kind of like do the right thing. She doesn't say that. She kind of walks up to him, and he's already slapped the shit out of her a couple times. I was waiting for her to pull out a piece and just like boom. All right, Jeff. I did it for you. Now I don't have to worry about it. But now he handcuffs him, takes him back on an airplane. I love the PM way of showing an airplane. Airplane go over across the screen just randomly, like they were at the end of the airport. Let's film 3 different airplanes today. And that's going to be our airplane on the map. Yeah.
Right.
And so he takes him all the way back. He walks him into the FBI. Jeff is wanted. He's killed countless people, probably 50 at this point.
Right.
Got one of the most wanted people in the United States and South America, walks right into the offices and hands him to his boss. And his boss is like, all right, we're doing good here. Not, hey, you're wanted now. You've killed all these people. You don't just get to leave. And then dude goes to grab the gun. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Die Hard ending, every other ending I've ever seen, Lethal Weapon ending. He's going to shoot him because he grabbed the gun. Nope. He grabs the gun and somehow trips over someone and falls through a window in the like 6th story of the FBI building.
Yeah.
And falls to his death. And Jeff still walks out of the building like, is it done now? He's like, yeah, it's done. Roll credits.
What's nice is he brings him in with handcuffs. I think Robert Patrick, when he goes to grab the gun, I think Robert Patrick does like nudge him or grab him or shove him a little bit.
Something
and then he
falls
through the window. When he falls through the window, his arms are then released because you see the stuntman do the typical fall out the window. Yeah. But when he hits the car, his hands are handcuffed again.
Yes. I always watch that, and it's because of Lethal Weapon, because I watch the behind the scenes. And if you watch it close, when he gets the jumper and he handcuffs himself, they're holding hands when they jump, and you can see a moment that that the handcuffs aren't attached. They're just trying to hold on to each other's hands to the last second so it's safe and they don't break each other's wrists to land, and then they get back out and they're handcuffed again. I always look for that. If someone's wearing handcuffs and falls off a building, like when does the handcuffs come off? When. There it is. No handcuffs. And they're back on. There he is.
This guy has no handcuffs on as he comes shooting out the window.
No, nothing.
That's the other thing. It's the other thing about PM Entertainment films. Glass has no substance. Like, there's one point where he needs to get out of the casino quickly. He just throws himself through a plane of glass. Like, I don't care how big, strong, and tough you are. You're not throwing yourself through a plane of glass. Like, glass will crack and shatter before it completely breaks.
Front of storefront buildings, that glass is designed not to do that. Okay, that is super strong. At least shoot the glass first. Give me that little bit of I shot it and then I jumped out. No, he head first rolls
throws
again,
himself through a window. Yeah,
and jumps.
Yeah. At least Die Hard, when he swings back from the building, he shoots at the glass before he goes through it. There's
Several times.
Level of There's some level of believability there. But yes, no, glass in PM Entertainment movies has no purchase. It has no solidity. It has no
it's just there to look pretty until it's time to jump through it. But yeah, I gotta say, for the entire movie, I enjoyed this movie, but that ending left me wanting. That's probably the best way I can put it. and it just actually left me with more questions, which they're never going to answer. And that's fine. That's an action movie for you. But it's like, you've killed at least 50 people. It's not just 4 heads of the drug cartel. It's all of their henchmen. Every innocent bystander that got killed in a crossfire from all of the gunfire.
Right.
And then
at one point, doesn't he do like $1 million of damage to like a street in Las Vegas or something? That like he did like
the
$1.5
million. Yeah, they go. He did and that's when they almost high five all each other. Like, that's all he spent. That's all it cost us. Like, awesome.
Yes. Yeah, wild. But they, like, you've got to, at a certain point, I think what PM does is they go, well, someone up top is pulling strings, and that will be our catch-all answer for people who say, well, wait a minute, what about X? Yeah. Like, what about the guns? How's he getting How's he getting motorbikes? How's he getting airplanes? How's he getting guns? How's he getting bullets? You just go, oh, well, the man from above is pulling the strings. Oh, well, that's all right then. Who's that then? The president? Like, who's pulling the strings?
He's got his own smoking man before he was ever part of X-Files. So he has
right, exactly. Yeah, it's like this catch-all story line kind of technique that kind of is just the answer to everything. I get where Joe, the writer, is coming from. And I don't know because I haven't read the original script, but like what that scene was meant to be or how they were going to get closure. And I like the way it ends with him riding off into the sunset on the motorbike again. But I find it odd. Yeah.
I said the shot's cool where he rides off.
But I'm with you. Like, I don't know, how is it? I get the big emotional ending. There's a big emotional ending where I'm giving him over. I'm doing the right thing, but I quit the FBI. I can't be a part of this life anymore. Look what it's done to me, blah, 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 blah. Like, I can see that ending being an ending. Even if you take out of your head, well, he's a wanted man and he's killed all these people. Even if you're just like, he needs closure as a human being and he's just going to kind of like walk the land like a Western hero or whatever. You're like, okay, I could see that as an ending. And I could even see an ending where they, thank you for your service. And then 2 guys come up behind him, handcuff him, and walk him away, like almost like thank you for your service. And then I can see the down ending as well.
Yeah, you could have ended it up on an up and a down. Hell, you could have ended it on the B action-y of B action endings and just have the guy go for the gun, and before Jeff could get his out, the police captain caps the guy and looks at him and goes, "Damn, that really was easier." Call back to where we're just shooting him now. Go. The movie isn't lending itself to that type of insanity, so I'm okay. But I'm also like, it would allow him to still have that honorable moment where he didn't kill the last guy, but yet now he doesn't have this guy who's just in prison, which is usually where the most powerful people are half the time anyway, looming over him for the rest of his life.
Or should be. Yeah.
Yeah. So let the captain who kind of put him in this predicament cap this guy. Or, I think it could have been anything other than him feeling like he accidentally falls out of a window. That's kind of where it lands for me.
That's accidentally really throws himself out of a window.
Accidentally on purpose flies out of a window and Peter Pan's out the damn thing.
But, I can just see Joseph on set being like, we need one more stunt. We need one more thing.
I get that. I don't think anyone had fell out of a building in this movie yet till that moment. Right. So that might have been.
They were like, hey, we have enough glass.
The PM checklist.
We've done a high fall.
Yeah. Oh, we did. We forgot the high fall. We're almost done. Fuck it. Throw him out the window. Hans Gruber his ass. Okay. Done.
Okay, so you should all know the drill by now. Now it is interview time. And this week we have an interview with the writer of Zero Tolerance, Jacobson Hart, as well as some comments by some other PM Entertainment luminaries that I've spoken to over the last few weeks who have mentioned either the film or working with Robert Patrick. So that'll be coming up now. Obviously, don't forget that we do have to have some commercials because we need to be able to pay for the hosting and other things that we do in order to make this podcast possible. Obviously, if you wish to support us, the best thing you can do is to rate and review us wherever rating and reviewing is possible. Most prominently on Apple Podcast would be the best place. Otherwise, Spotify allows it, and some other smaller services also allow it. So please rate and review wherever you can. And also, when you see us post on Facebook, share it, like it, comment. When you see us post on Instagram, share it to your stories, like, comment, all that good stuff. That really, really helps and doesn't cost anyone anything. So please continue to do that. That would be fantastic. Thanks so much. So here are a few adverts, and then my interview with Jacobson Hart and a few other people from the PM Entertainment family.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
How did the script start to fall into place for Zero Tolerance?
It was Joseph's initial idea a Monday morning, and I went into his office to get my writing assignment, and he started talking about Zero Tolerance. He liked the title. He had the story mapped out pretty much from the beginning. I know he had the first 10 pages very detailed and how it all got set up. And he also knew how he wanted it to end. And I did my job. I did my best to keep it simple. And I appreciate how sparse the story was and how sparse the structure was. And I wanted to keep it that way. And I kept the dialogue at a minimum. And that's the best kind of dialogue I write, is short, terse lines. The more dialogue I have to write, the more cliched it gets. But I wrote some pretty good short little lines. One of my favorite pieces of writing is in that film, where the little girl asked him what he got for Christmas. He said nothing.
Yeah. The trailer actually does a really good job of capturing that, because it seems to, in between sort of the explosions, car chases, and stunts, they seem to have found sort of the 3 or 4 times throughout the movie that there's like a snappy back and forth, and sort of put that in the trailer. And that line where, he looks down at the little girl next to him in the plane and says nothing, I think is in the trailer. The bit where Titus Welliver says, I wish Crazy Jeffy was on our side. I love that they call him Crazy Jeffy. And that whole back and forth with his...
That would have been an improv from Titus. He did a lot of improvising. He came up with, he just naturalized his dialogue. He gave a terrific performance. And I think he naturalized his dialogue.
Yeah.
And he did a great job with that. Him and Robert Patrick really elevate that material. And there's some terrific stunts. Red Horton was the stunt coordinator, and he did some terrific stunts in that film. And Joseph kept the direction very, very lean. And I appreciate how sparse the whole thing is.
Yeah, it's nice.
I think that Robert might have added a couple of his lines, but he certainly gave it a realism that helped the material a lot. My general attitude was to try to keep the dialogue to a minimum. That was my attitude about writing action movies at that time. I wanted the story to be told visually, as sparse as I could, but you still have to have a 90-page script.
Yeah.
The relationship between those three, him and the FBI and her, that kind of came from Joseph, because he liked the idea of the FBI allowing Jeff Douglas to go and do his own thing, and the way that they kind of tried to turn the other cheek to the whole thing. That was Joseph's idea. I had written a scene where the FBI was protecting the last member of the band that he was killing, the Ray Manta character. I had written a scene where the FBI was protecting him from Jeff Douglas, because I like that irony. But Joseph liked the idea of the FBI allowing Jeff Douglas to do that, to go vigilante. And I appreciate that element too. I like that angle too. It's kind of old school.
Yeah, you feel like there's so many ways it could have gone, and what's interesting about the movie, although I'm sure some people see the ending as a sort of a hero moment, and then, he gets to drive off into the sunset. What's actually more true is either way the story went. So, whether he goes full vigilante and kills everyone and drives off into the sunset, or whether the FBI turn out to be protecting Manta and are going to just hang it all on Jeff, and Jeff is the scapegoat, or a multitude of other ways it could have ended. I think what the dark underpinning of that is that Jeff loses no matter what. There's no world in which Jeff comes out on top in the end. You know what I mean? And yes, the ending as it is right now can be read that, well, at least he gets to ride off with his freedom, which I suppose is something. But, he's lost his job. He's lost his faith in the government, or the agency, at least the FBI. He's lost probably his colleagues who work for the FBI, or at least the colleagues in the FBI are probably thinking whether they want to stick it out with the FBI after this. And so, he's lost his family and everything else. So, yeah, it's probably the best in terms of optimism. It's probably the most hopeful of all the endings. But either way, the dark ending, the real dark ending would have been, the agency of protecting Manta, and Jeff gets blamed for everything, handcuffed and dragged off to, a federal prison. So, there's lots of ways to end it. And I think that's sometimes, especially for a film fan, that's even better, because it gives us avenues and stories and choose our own adventures in our head,
Joseph liked to give a little hope in his endings. He didn't. He did some nihilistic stuff early in his career, but I think later he tended to like the more positive endings. I mean, the loss for Robert Patrick's character is the loss of his family, and that's, he doesn't escape from that.
Right. No, it never will. Right.
And him driving away on the motorcycle, I think that kind of is alluded to earlier in that, when that truck driver, that guy picks him up as a hitchhiker, the guy in the RV.
Yeah.
The guy kind of fantasizes about how great it would be to have no responsibilities. And in the end, that's where Jeff is left.
Yeah. And it's interesting that I think the moment he kind of goes vigilante, that the motorbike becomes his mode of transport. Because yes, on one hand, it's like a cool action symbol for a movie. But on the other hand, it's a solo transportation. Like, there is no one else who's traveling with him anymore,
Right. Yeah.
Like, if you look at Robert Patrick's resume after this, it would have been lovely to have seen him at least do kind of 2 or 3. He fits so well, it feels, into the mold.
Yeah, he did that role terrifically. Yeah, he was a lot of fun in that part.
Yeah.
I really liked his double barrel shotgun that held 5 shells.
Yeah, never needs to be reloaded. Yeah.
You can't watch PM movies for realism.
No, of course. Was there ever any talk for like sequelizing it, or any talk about following on the character, or because Patrick never returned, it was never brought up?
Yeah, I don't think that it was ever discussed, because Robert didn't come back for another film.
Yeah.
And I don't know why he did or why he didn't. I don't know if they asked him. I don't know any details about that.
No.
I sat down. I worked one day with Robert. I had a gunfight with him in Long Beach. I got to play one of the henchmen in that gunfight scene. And So I got to spend the day with him, and that was a fun day.
Yeah. And he seemed generally happy to be there. He was enjoying himself. He thought that the production was good, or did you find him to be someone who was just, this was the next step for him or something?
I think when I worked with him that day, Robert seemed gung-ho about the process. He seemed to enjoy the day that I was there. He was very positive, and it was a long day. I mean, it was an extensive shootout. We were there well past 12 hours, and we were there deep into the night shooting that scene. And he was there the whole time, and he stayed positive the whole time.
Nice. That's great. That's great. And was there anything?
He got his wife a job on that film. She played his wife in the movie.
Yeah, and obviously that scene is incredibly violent. Was there any discussion around sort of the violence in that scene, or was it just let's get some more action in there?
I think the violence in that scene was more intense than what I wrote. I think Joseph made it that way to bring out the drama, so all the time through the rest of the film why he's doing what he's doing.
Right.
Joseph was very enthusiastic about that project from the beginning. He had the general idea, he had the ending, and he had the structure also. Him traveling, it's kind of like a action movie, road movie. It's like a road movie crossed with an action film, because he's traveling through the whole film. And it was Joseph's idea to have flashbacks while he was traveling. He felt strongly that there should be more drama in this film than in previous films. The last thing he told his wife was that everything was going to be okay, and that eats away at him.
Yeah.
And that drama, and what I mean by drama is emotion. And that's what Joseph wanted out of this film more than previous ones, was he wanted to bring in more emotions.
No, and that comes across.
Yeah, I think Joseph should be proud of that film. I'm real happy with it. I like how Spartan the whole thing is. I like how it ends. I like how he comes back around and brings him back to justice. That was Joseph's idea, and I always responded to that positively.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good way to end it, and not just have it be one last kill.
Right.
Even though he kind of gives you that anyway, because with the very ending, with Ray Manta grabbing the other cop's gun. But that doesn't change the character arc. I like how Robert Patrick quits at the end too. The guy's like, he could have come back, but he doesn't want to come. He doesn't want to go back.
No, everything has let him down. Everything has, set him up for failure. And he doesn't want to be part of that anymore. And it's important, I think, for him to walk away.
Well, another thing Zero Tolerance gave me was a car. I needed a car. I don't know. My car broke down, and my car broke down, and so I was without a car. And the picture vehicle that Robert Patrick sets on fire, the Chevy Blazer, blue and white, he sets it on fire, and then he drives in to the warehouse. He drives through the door.
Yeah.
After they were done with that scene, they gave me that Chevy.
Oh, it was still drivable?
Yeah. They blew a junker up.
Okay.
They used that car to drive in through the door, and then they were done with it. And even though it was had been burned and driven through a door, it still ran, and they gave it to me. So that's the kind of guys they were.
I love that. Do you still have it somewhere or not?
Oh no.
No.
That was 1990s. That was in the 90s.
Oh, no, I know. I just didn't know if you'd kept it as dragged it across the country as a keepsake. I didn't know,
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
And now a quick chat with Ken Blakey, who was the cinematographer for many, many, many PM Entertainment films, over half of them. And he talks a little bit about Zero Tolerance and also shooting in Vegas. Is there anything about working with Robert Patrick, anything about lighting in Vegas? Because obviously you've got those big Vegas scenes with all the big casino marquees and things like that. Anything that you can share about Zero Tolerance?
Well, it was a big movie for PM. It had a bigger budget moving forward. What I remember about it, Robert Patrick was great. Loved working with him. Let's see, I'm trying to think. That's a long time ago. A lot of movies there. I remember talking to him about. He did the film about the Travis Walton story, the logger in Arizona that was abducted. Fire in the Sky.
Okay.
Fire in the Sky.
Yeah.
You ever seen that?
I have not seen it. No.
Probably the most probably the best, in reality, the best documented abduction story, there is. And we'll go into that. It was really good. And I'm interested in that sort of thing. So we talked a lot about that. He played Travis Walton in that movie.
Right.
And had done it. So, I was just picking his brain and he enjoyed talking about it and what, he took from it and everything. And he was a joy to work with. He was a real pro. I ran into him at the supermarket one day in Hollywood at Gelson's, where we shopped, and I was with my daughter-in-law, and we were walking along. I said, "Well, it's Robert Patrick," and he saw me. He recognized me. This is probably a year later. I'm thinking, my God. And we had a conversation there in the aisle at the store, and then, bid our dues and walked away. And my daughter-in-law was like, it was just over the moon. She said, everybody in the store was stopped looking at you too.
Right.
Right. Watching you. It's like you were celebrities. I said, well, he's a celebrity. I'm not. But he's a good guy.
Yeah. No.
And as far as the shoe goes, the part I guess I remember the most is the big shootout in the Mexican Village. That was a big deal, and a lot of action and a lot of killing.
As a cinematographer, as the director of photography, something like shooting in Vegas, where there is so many lighting sources, is that a challenge for you, or is that a bonus for you? Does that mean you have to set up less lights, or do you have to combat the insane amount of lights with your own shadows and things? I don't know.
Well, yeah, no, it's a blessing. I mean, the light. I mean, just the visuals. There they are.
Right.
And if you're outside on the street or inside, it's 24 hours, bright lights.
Yeah.
So I will say that in the case of what we were shooting then, less lights. What you needed were just lights to, so that faces didn't look bad.
Right.
Bring in a keep flows, if you know what those are. They're basically fluorescent lights. They're plug-ins, and you just had those to move around a lot. Used a lot of Kino flows for that sort of thing. And inside the casinos, it's plenty bright, but I always want faces to look nice, especially in the close-ups and so forth. So yes, I would say it was a huge help, not just visually in what you saw of the lights, but what they added and gave you in any scene. Yeah, it was great. And we shot a lot in Vegas. I got to tell you, my biggest memories of Vegas is, being on a film crew is like being in a rock band, and the hotels and the bars never close. So no matter what time you get off, if it's 3:00 in the morning, the bar is open, right? So shooting on Zero Tolerance, I think I remember more about the partying in the bars and the rooms than I do making the movies. That sounds awful, but making a movie. That's you're at work, and you were doing it before right up to you started that movie and you started another one. I was working on I think, if I count correctly, 6, 7, sometimes 8 movies a year. I mean, I've literally wrapped a movie. I remember specifically one in particular wrapped a movie at 6 o'clock on a Monday morning after working all night Sunday night and finishing a movie, and driven to another set and started a movie that had a 7 a.m. call.
Wow. Yes.
So you work days. So you work days on those shoots. You start at usually 6 or whatever, whatever time of year it is, depending on the light. You have, say, just a 6 a.m. call, and on Monday and on Tuesday it might be 8, and then on Wednesday it might be 10 because you have evening and a little bit of night stuff. And by Thursday and Friday, you what call splits, so you're starting at noon and using the daylight, and then you have night stuff, interior, exterior, and you're wrapping around midnight. And then by Saturday night, you'll be shooting all night, coming in at 6 p.m. and getting off at 6 a.m. on Sunday morning, and then going back to work at 6 a.m. on Monday morning. So, and around the clock.
Wow.
And it's a grind. It was a grind.
Yeah, grueling schedule. But look at what you have now to look back on.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
And then lastly, just a couple of anecdotes from Joseph Mary again, not just about zero tolerance, but sort of a little bit about the budgets and generally making a PM Entertainment movie. Enjoy.
Because here's what we had. We had Ken Blakey, the director of photography, who did over 100 movies with us. So we have a base. We can literally have anybody direct, as long as they can direct the actors and get the dialogue correctly, and usually these actors, because they're actors, they know the acting business more than anybody, and they know friends who are really good actors. For example, when we brought Robert Patrick, our connection to Robert Patrick is, he was making Terminator 2, and he was going to be a huge star, so we signed him for 3 movies. And we thought, just his connection, he brought Titus Williver to play the bad guy. So all these actors will bring their friends or bring somebody.
So just give me an idea, because obviously I think when I was talking to Rick, he was sort of talking that at a certain point in PM Entertainment, you had sort of multiple films shooting at once at any given time. What was the regular? I also, people are asking me on the Facebook page for the podcast as well. Sort of what was the, budget, production schedule, and sort of the routine of making like a PM Entertainment film?
Well, when we started making movies for $50,000 on 16 millimeters, and after I think 7 or 8 or 10 movies, whatever, then we graduated to 35 millimeters. So it went from 50,000 to about 120,000. It's costly to more cost for 35 millimeter, bigger camera, more expensive. So we went to 100. I think the very first movie was Emperor of the Bronx. We shot it in New York. It was very ambitious to go to New York and shoot a movie in New York for 100,000, 150,000 at the time.
Yeah.
So we really. We used to literally walk it backward. Richard did not interfere much with the sales of the movie. As a matter of fact, he didn't even go to Europe till maybe 15 years later. I was going to Europe to sell it with George Chemie, who was in charge of the sales.
Yeah.
And I was interested to keep track of what people pay for the movie. So we worked it backward. If we feel by putting Robert Patrick in the movie and giving him $500,000 for 10 days work, we can get probably $1.5 million to $2 million for the movie. So we cannot spend more than $1 million because we had a lot of overhead. We had a huge studio. We had people working for us. So we would have to double or triple our money. So we work it backward most of the time. We think if we shoot a movie for $1 million, probably can get 2.4 for it, and that dictated to how many days we need to shoot, and normally we never shoot more than 18 days. Like 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 days plus another, maybe 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks at the most. 4 weeks, I think 4 weeks, the most we've ever shot. Aside from like the Jean-Claude Van Damme, or later on, I got involved with bigger movies where they shoot for 40 days.
Yeah.
That's how we determine how much we pay the actor. Like, for example, I really feel bad for Robert Patrick. He came off a movie that cost, I don't know, 60, 70, 80 million, 100 million at the time, to work in the movie for $1 million.
Yeah.
And 500,000 of it was his salary. So we had $500,000 to make a movie with potentially a huge star that's worked with, James Cameron. So he went, we feel sorry for him, went from James Cameron to working with me.
But also, don't you feel that your kind of, like a PM Entertainment film or a straight-to-video film or whatever kind of, second-tier film that he would make, and he went on to work with other similar straight-to-video production companies.
Yeah.
It often gave actors like him that were either being asked to play bad guys or character actor roles or whatever it was in bigger movies, it gave them the chance to be the heroic lead, which they didn't often get. I think it was,
exactly.
A PM Entertainment or a Canon Film or, Vidmark, whatever, those kind of production houses, they gave those actors that opportunity. So I wouldn't feel bad if I was an actor like Robert Patrick. I would love the opportunity to be in an incredible action-packed, explosion-filled B movie as the lead. I mean, who wouldn't want that?
You're absolutely right. The thing I felt bad about it, and later on, things happened 30 years ago, and I reflect back and say, oh, what an idiot. Why didn't I do this? I remember vividly Robert Patrick was in a phone booth or something, and he made a call, found out about his wife was killed or something, I can't remember. And he's an actor, he's an amazing actor, and a really nice human being. So I said, I reflect back on, Robert Patrick, because we were friends. We got, we did a couple of movies together, and then we kind of used to connect, and never dawned on me. Now, like 30 years later, I would think, oh my God, I see him, and a friend of mine produced a movie with him. I just had dinner with called Walk the Line. Did you ever see that movie, Walk the Line?
Yes, with Joaquin Phoenix and
yes, just Joaquin Phoenix.
Yes,
James Keats produced the movie, and I was talking to him, and I see Robert Patrick in the movie. I said, "Oh my God!" He asked me for one more take. This is an emotional scene, and he wanted to do one more take, so he can get into the emotional, state of the scene. I said, "No, Robert, we're moving on." And I feel bad about, something like that. I remember, and I feel really guilty and bad and say, okay, how come I didn't give this guy another take? He's a great actor, he's a good actor. So, yeah, and I used to joke with him. And I said, he would say something to me. I said, don't worry about it. James Cameron made you famous. I'm going to make you unknown by the time I'm finished with this.
Well, I mean, I can tell you, Joseph, that these films, I mean, especially something like Zero Tolerance, which is often on a lot of my friends or people that I talk to online about PM Entertainment, a lot of their top 10 lists, Zero Tolerance is on. So I wouldn't feel too bad about it at all. I mean, I think you should be very, very proud of the films you've made.
I am. I still think we're a couple of idiots who just decided to make some movies. We didn't go to film school. We didn't know anything about film school or how to make the movie correctly or something. We just got in and start making it and just had fun doing it, make mistakes. We laughed. We just had fun, and we involved everybody. It wasn't like a dictatorship. I'm the director. What should happen is I'm the producer. You do this. It was like a group effort. Said, okay, we need to do this. What do you think, guys? Okay, let's do this. Let's do that. How about this? The caterer can have a good idea, and next thing you know, they're directing a movie.
Yeah. And it's how it should be. It's such a collaborative art form. One person can't make a film. So it's,
That's the word I was looking for, except I still can't master the English language after 50 goddamn years.
You do great. You're absolutely fantastic. You sound fantastic. Yes, you worked incredibly hard. Yes, you took risks, but you did so knowing that there was support, that someone had your back, that people would push you in the right direction. That's collaboration. That's not, no one's an island or lives in a vacuum.
100%. I'll tell you one incident where they were shooting a scene, a dialogue scene, and the actors were forming the dialogue scene. And I said, wait, and I was directing. I said, oh, wait, cut. This doesn't make any sense. And then I said, who wrote this shit? He goes, you, sir. You did.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Let's wrap this up then, and let's do the last few questions that we always do on every episode. We've pretty much gone through our overall thoughts on our favorite scenes, but where do you rank this then within PM Entertainment films, firstly? So within the PM films that you've seen, where does this rank? And it doesn't have to be an actual number, but is it in the top 5, the middle 5, the bottom 5? Like, where do you place this just in the realms of PM films that you've watched?
I think, again, because we picked this because it was one that I remembered that I had seen, and I think I had put it in my here's the 5 I would like to cover. I'm gonna say I'm probably gonna put this in the bottom 10, like 8 or 9. There's still quite and it might move up or down depending on, now that I'm digging more into PM on my own as well.
Because how many have you seen, would you say, roughly? Do you list them anywhere or not really?
I'd say I can't, everybody keeps telling me I need to start doing Letterboxd, and I really should, because then I could just be like, here is my list. Right. And that's where everything is. I think I'm upwards of, once I remember that I have seen, there's a possibility I'll watch one and go, oh yeah, I've seen this. I think I've seen about 10 or 11, because I didn't realize Bloodfist was PM Entertainment movies. I didn't realize that there was quite a few.
Bloodfist is Roger Corman.
What was the
Bloodfist
other
franchises?
The one with Don the Dragon after, was it after
the PM ones with Don the Dragon are Ring of Fire 1, 2, and 3.
That's what it is. Ring of Fire
and Out for Blood and Cyber Tracker 1 and 2. Those are the ones.
So I've seen the Cyber Trackers, and I've seen the Ring of Fire. Those are the ones. So I'm at about 10 or 11 I've seen that I know I've seen. So yeah, I would say this one's it's in the top 10, but at the bottom of my top 10. That's for sure.
Understood. And that's fair. That's absolutely fair. I would, I'm just going to have a look now. So I have my PM entertainment list, which is not complete. I still need to add to it. The trouble is that I have a bunch of PM films that I just give 4 out of 5 to.
Mhm.
And Zero Tolerance, I do give a 4 out of 5 to. I think after this watch, though, today, and I hate to end this on a downer, but like I might knock it down to 3.5. It might get a
That's
3.5
kind
out
of where
of
I'm
5.
at. Yeah, I think I'm right about there.
Which would push it down. So if it's 3.5, that puts it with films like Firepower, Ring of Fire 2, Executive Target, Recoil. I give all those like 3.5. Land of the Free with Jeff Speakman. So that would put it squarely in my like. I've watched about 40 of their films more or less right now as I sit here. So that would put it in like the bottom of the top 20, if that makes any sense.
No, I got you. Yeah.
So that's kind of where I
don't do a podcast called PM Entertainment Podcast, so I can.
No, I understand. No, I get it. I get it.
You better be at like 40 or somewhere around there.
Yeah, no, sure. I mean, I've only done 6 episodes of the show, but yes, I know what you mean. Yes, I've watched a ton for other shows and other
and
other
none of what we're talking about is Robert Patrick's fault at all. Like,
no, not at all. He's fantastic in the movie.
He would be like right now, as far as leading men, probably my top 5 PM leading men.
I would have loved to have seen him do more PM films. And it's funny because I was, for the last year or so, I've actually had in the town where I'm at, like a little video store. And I've been collecting VHS and DVDs to like sell in this video store. And a lot of the VHS that I came across, believe it or not, has like Robert Patrick starring in it. Movies from much earlier on in his career. Stuff like, obviously, like The Cool Surface, Body Shot, Zero Tolerance, yes, Double Dragon, Last Gasp, things like that. And I have to say, like, set against those movies, Zero Tolerance is like the top of them. Like Body Shop, Last Gasp, Cool Surface, all of these movies are pretty awful. He's great in them, but the movies themselves are pretty awful. And Double Dragon has its cheesy, nostalgic thrills, but it's not what I'm putting in all the time. If I'm going to watch a Dacascos movie, it's going to be Drive, you know. What's the other Dacascos one I like? I can't think right now. But anyway, so in terms of where I would rank this in Robert Patrick movies, you have to kind of, you could include T2, which is always going to be kind of like up there. And The Faculty, I like The Faculty a lot. I would put that up a lot. But if you could kind of slot this in where it falls just in Robert Patrick movies, where would you put it if you could?
So for me with Robert Patrick movies, I mean, because you got to remember he also did things like, you know, From Dusk Till Dawn 2.
Yes.
You know, which wasn't terrible. You know, it had Bruce Campbell at least at the beginning of it. But
Scotty Spiegel directed it.
Scotty Spiegel. And I had totally forgot that he's the Shadow King in Double Dragon until you said that. I was like, oh yeah, that was Patrick, wasn't it?
He is. Got that dyed hair in that as well. Did he just like dye his hair blonde a lot in the 80s and 90s?
Did he get done filming one of these and roll right into the other? That could have been also it too. I think I'm going to have to pray. I mean, as far as Robert Patrick, early stuff, you know, not talking anything Peacekeeper or anything he's done recently, I'd say it's probably my top 5 for Robert Patrick movies, you know, because it's his movie, you know, like some of these never really felt like him being a leading man. I like this one, like we said, because it's very Robert Patrick. It's very, it fits him as an actor in an action movie that is suited to him. He's not a cyborg. He's not superpowered. He's not supernatural or anything like that. He's just an FBI agent before he was in the X-Files. So yeah.
Right.
Top 5.
And I would have loved to have seen him do more PM films. When you look at sort of the 10 years after this movie came out outside of like Copland, which again is one that I forget he's in, and he's absolutely fucking phenomenal in Copland. I mean, Copland itself is just such a great movie. And The Faculty and From Dusk Till Dawn too. Almost everything else he's doing is either TV movies or straight to video movies. And he could have done like 4 or 5 PM films and had a great leading man action career. And it's interesting that he doesn't do that.
Yeah, I'd be curious to find out if there's a reason, because you're right. Normally they would do one of these and be like, boom, into stardom because, he landed a next big role. But you start thinking about The Faculty, he's part of a cast. He's not even He's not even the main villain in that. He has a decent role, but he's not Famke Johnson in there. He's not, any of the kids that are obviously on the cover of everything. But I would have liked to have seen more from him. So I got to say that kind of puts Zero Tolerance really high on my Robert Patrick movie list.
Yeah, it's in my top 5. It's in my top 5. And I would say that as someone who, like I say, has recently watched a lot of his straight to video stuff. And this is heads and shoulders above any of that stuff.
Yeah, it's good.
So that's pretty great. Yeah. Well, look, Charlie, we have come to the end of the PM Entertainment podcast. I hope it won't be the last time you're on the show, because had a great time chatting with you and love to have you back. But thanks so much for coming through in a pinch, man. I know it was last minute that I asked you, but I'd been trying to figure out what I was going to cover next week, and I didn't know. And this came up, and it makes perfect sense. So thanks so much for doing the show tonight, man. It's been awesome.
Anytime, man. I loved it. Like I said, as soon as I saw you promoting this podcast, I've been sharing it out on all my stuff, and we'll give you a shout out on our podcast. And, if you ever get around to making a commercial or an ad, I'll throw it in on the podcast, man. So I'll just, we'll just kind of be reciprocal. You share our stuff, we'll share yours. But this has been a blast. I can't wait to come back. I know Dustin is chomping at the bit, my other B Action co-host, that he wants to come on. And I think he's dropped Hologram Man I don't know how many times, half a dozen times, like, we should go on there and do that one. It's another Joe Laura. Hologram, man. We gotta do Joe Laura. I'm like, all right, well, you talk to him. You know how to do socials.
You are now leaving the PM Entertainment Podcast.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.